7.
I got you. Yeah, yeah, totally. And then what's your favorite sleeping position?
Side
Sleep on the
side
side.
with you know, my arm kind of under my head, under my pillow, with my a pillow between my legs.
Okay. Yeah, solid. I do that too. So,
Yeah.
um, cool, man. I'm just gonna hand it off to you then. To make a preface of kind of what type of dream or yeah, any type of preface you want, and then yeah, just dive into it.
Cool. Yeah. I've actually talked about these two specific dreams before to a group of people, and I kind of have it like written out with some preface and whatnot.
Awesome.
So yeah, I have two dreams to talk about that right when I saw the flyer, I was like, okay, I know which two dreams I want to talk about because
Awesome.
You said life changing, and these both like very heavily changed my life in two very different ways. But so the first one, just to preface it, my grandpa was pretty much my father figure growing up. My dad wasn't really around. He is now, but he was like there with me. I lived with him until he died. Really, when I was 15 years old, and he was kind of like my rock and my, my probably most influential person in my life outside of my mom, really. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there was a lot of years where I kind of like obviously missed him, but like kind of went through some subtle depression because of it, just losing him at a young age or whatever. But so this dream is about him. So I'll start. So this is now dream time.
Gotcha.
Um, I'm in the yard of my childhood home. I realize I'm dreaming, so I'm lucid. I start flying around the backyard as I usually do, and I fly around the trees in my backyard um, until I fly to the back door of the old house I used to live at back in Wisconsin. I walk in and walk past my grandpa who's laying on the couch, and I kind of turn to the right, not looking at him at first, because sometimes it's hard to have that confrontation. But then I turn around, and when I turn around, he's sitting up with his hand out, vertical, with his palm facing me. And for some reason, I just know that I'm supposed to put my hand to his hand. And when our hands touch, uh, my consciousness just completely explodes, and I feel like I'm expanding into infinity at the speed of light. And I no longer have a body nor any connection to the direct senses like hearing or vision. Instead, I'm in a state of like ultimate awareness. But my awareness is more so all based on memories I've had with my grandpa. So like all in the blink of an eye, in the same moment, I feel him holding me as a baby. I can hear his voice, not saying anything particularly, but I can feel his smell. I can remember the smell of him. I can feel him wrestling with me when I was a kid, and just all in the less than the blink of an eye, I felt all the sensations I really ever experienced with him. Uh, the whole thing was really timeless because it felt like so long that it happened, but it was literally also felt like a blink. Um, there was like enough experiences and sensations almost for a lifetime. I was completely overwhelmed, and I tried screaming, but I couldn't. There was no, like, I didn't have like a body to scream with. And then a second later, I wake up and I shoot up, and I'm screaming and I'm sweating and I'm panting, and it was like the most intense sensory experience of my life. Um, so that's the dream, and the feeling afterwards. Um, the one feeling I can still feel from the dream is the comfort I felt being held in my grandpa's arms. And it was like at that moment that I had this feeling that everything is okay. We all kind of always struggle with this, like, sometimes I have anxiety and all these things and depression, but from that moment I kind of had this like feeling inside of myself that everything's going to be okay no matter what. I felt safe and happy, and I've kind of carried that feeling into my everyday life, and I'm a happier person because of it. Um, and I really believe that was my grandpa showing me what happens when we die, um, and that no matter what happens, the universe is always holding us in its arms, protecting us.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, that was really intense
Yeah.
experience.
Y-
Um,
yes, seriously.
so that was the first dream, and I can talk about the second one unless you want to ask
Um,
or probe into the first one.
yeah, I mean, so when you say fly, you were literally just like Superman flying around your house, like,
Oh, yeah, in the backyard. I mean, yeah, and I could talk about what I do lucid dreaming
yeah,
for a while, but basically, when I do become lucid and I realize I'm dreaming, usually I can just sometimes easier than others, but just fly around. Sometimes Superman, but like more so just sitting in a meditating position because I've found that the Superman position it's harder to like change my speeds and everything.
yeah.
But yeah, that's just one of the superpowers I like to
That
do
that's
when I
amazing.
become lucid.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
it feels just completely real too, and it's like, yeah, it's incredible. Which is why I like try to talk a lot about dreaming and stuff, so that people like realize like there's this whole realm of possibilities all in your brain every single night.
that's amazing. I have not really been able to like lucid dream, nothing like anywhere close to that. Like I hope someday it does happen, but that
Yeah,
sounds amazing. Can you compare like like the that experience to anything else?
it's kind of like, I mean, nothing really in real life. Like when you're, I guess when you're flying, you feel like weightless, and it's just like you have to have the understanding that this is a matrix of experience that you're a part of that doesn't follow the laws of physics. And once you kind of like realize you're dreaming and then realize that all those rules are out the door, you can kind of do whatever you want. And so sometimes I put myself in situations to like try to have fun. Sometimes I've tried to put myself in situations like this where I'm like searching for. I went into the house kind of like thinking like because I missed that house and I can't see it anymore. And I was kind of like trying to fulfill like a part of myself that I used to be able to experience all the time. So I thought my grandpa or my grandma might be in there. My grandma's still alive, but I've had a lot of experiences like with my grandpa, and I try to like ask him questions about like the meaning of life and stuff like that, and he's never really given me anything. But this one time was completely unexplainable, and like that that expansion of consciousness was like I literally felt like, yeah, I guess I can't really relate to anything in real life.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just literally felt like from I was like a point and just the expansion. I felt like the expansion was going in all directions at like this crazy velocity that was completely uncomprehendable. Like I didn't have a body anymore. And it wasn't really like images. It was more so the feelings
hmm,
of his voice. It wasn't like I heard his voice say a word, but it was like
right.
I was almost like remembering the tone of his voice and like the smell. Like I could feel
Yeah,
and remember like it was almost like reliving his smell and like just the wrestling wasn't like it wasn't like watching a movie. It was like the memories, the feeling that I associated with the action,
hmm,
feeling that all over again, but really, really intense all at the same
wow,
time.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, wow. I'm trying to like think of more questions, but I mean, uh, what are people like? Or what are as someone who hasn't really lucid dream, what are people like? Are different people act differently?
Oh yeah. So like, um, there's a few different. I can almost like break it down in a few different types of people. There's like the ones that are kind of like zombies, where they're like, I look at them really intensely, and their eyes kind of go gray,
Hmm,
and they like kind of start not melting, but I've been able to like look at someone and like make them dissipate into thin air
yeah.
because I like knew they weren't real and I just like wanted to go like